Good morning, friends. Welcome to Alchem IAS. Welcome to another newspaper discussion of Hindu and Indian Express of 18th October 2021. So, in today's class, we're going to discuss the most important articles, like every day, of Hindu and Indian Express, uh, mostly focusing on Hindu, and some important articles which I found in Indian Express, and also sometimes I can also share any important articles from ET. So this series would be a comprehensive sort of series for you. In around 1 hour we complete the newspapers every day, and after this series, after this video, you wouldn't have to touch the newspaper, right? So we are going to have a comprehensive discussion, and also for beginners who keep asking me how to start newspaper or how to study newspaper, this will give you a good insight into that. But of course, our focus is on UPSC Mains 2021, UPSC Mains, and for the prelims 2022, and for the EPFO interview, which is coming up now. And actually any interview, even if you're preparing for any banking examinations, or you're preparing for SSC, CGL, any competitive examinations, this will be a good primer for you on reading and understanding the newspaper. Okay, that is our DNA, daily newspaper analysis. And myself, I'm B. Teja Sai. I've graduated from IIT Kharagpur, and I appeared in UPSC Mains 4 times. And I'm also the ex-faculty at Grade Up IAS, Amida, Unique Shiksha. I worked at Vision IAS, Insights, and other institutes also. So without further ado, let us begin our discussion today of Pehle Hindu newspaper. So a lot of political news today in the newspaper, but of course a couple of editorials were quite good. We'll be discussing about them in length. And firstly, as part of our headlines, in Kerala we are seeing extremely high rain toll, which is deeming to be a flood-like situation in many places. So Kottayam and Idukki are the worst hit, and Kerala rain toll at 27. So the death toll has risen to 27, mostly in areas of Kottayam and Idukki, and these are the areas where there are hydel power projects, major hydel power projects. So we can understand that this widespread rain and the disaster and the landslip are happening oblivious to the hydel power projects. A couple of days before we were discussing about how there are a lot of, these are rain-prone areas generally, and these have very big hydel power projects. So the rain is running over and above the limit of the hydel power projects. NDRF teams are deployed and so on. And Jammu and Kashmir, every day the situation is devolving to be more and more dangerous. Yesterday, terrorists shot dead two more non-local laborers in the Kulgam district. We have discussed this yesterday and day before, and mostly there are some related news we'll be seeing today's newspaper, but mostly under internal security it's important. And the Singhu murder, which has happened Punjab-Haryana border. So this is an important news for our examinations. UAVs boost army watch in eastern sector. The army aviation has recently got control of Hiron UAV in eastern sector. Hiron UAV. So what is UAV? UAV is basically a drone, right? And here we have deployed this Hiron UAV in the eastern sector, mainly near Arunachal Pradesh. So after raising a new aviation brigade at Missamari in Assam, we have deployed this. There are a lot of other UAVs. There is the Male, Rastam. In fact, when we go to page 8, there will be seeing some more such UAVs. Actually, let's finish this news now. Let me show you that. So here we have you can see here the aviation brigade at Missamari. What is important for a prelims or for a factual analysis? It operates the Cheetah and ALH Dhruv helicopters. Okay, similarly, Rudra weaponized ALH and Hiron UAVs. So all of these are deployed. So factually, we can get a question on, if there's a question on, what is Hiron, you should be knowing that it's a UAV. Or Rudra, what is it? It's a helicopter. And all of them, they are indigenously designed and developed by the HAL. Okay, all of these, they're indigenous, of course, except Hiron. Hiron is a Israeli UAV. Okay, in addition, the army has recently released 4 Hiron male aerial vehicles from Israeli aircraft industries, which are much more capable than Hiron 1S. Okay, Hiron TP male, they are more capable than 1S. But there are some issues. There are some issues of aging fleet of Cheetah and Chetak helicopters. These are indigenous. So there's some issues, and we want to replace it with the indigenous LUH. Okay, along with a Ka-220-60 helicopter deal with Russia. Okay, so a lot of factual things. You don't have to know the army strategy behind it. At least the factual things you should be knowing. Okay, that is part of our headline, so it becomes a bit important. Then Delhi's air quality is dipping every day. We have seen that. Next, so some local Delhi news. And regarding the Kerala situation, PM Modi had called upon Pinarayi, the Chief Minister, Pinarayi Vijayan, about the flood situation. So it's an evolving disaster, and for the mains, we can definitely expect a question on the disaster management, especially in flood and rain havoc situations. Okay, and isme ek line you can write. We have seen the ravaging flood situation in Kottayam and Idukki. It's enough. One line ke liye, that is how you should. Current affairs is nothing but a symbol. Okay, हमें वो symbol के पीछे क्या चल रहा है, you should be knowing that well. Right. So if you start off your answer writing that, or even if your interview you're starting off with, we have seen the situation in Idukki and Kottayam districts where the death toll had been around 30 people. And this is a localized thing which is happening every year. These are high idle power projects areas, but still there is some issue. And then you can go on to your static knowledge. Okay, इसमें ही you don't have to go, in depth. कि एक Navy helicopter ने distribute किया food packets, right? 3 residents were swept away. Gold ornaments and all were salvaged, right? All these are not required for us. Okay. Next we have the editorial papers. Editorial papers, one is about the farmers movement. Okay, the farmers movement must not let their platform to be used by sectarian outfits. So we are seeing the farmers movements. Even if you see, again, you can get a question on farmers movements in India. You won't get a direct question on Lakhimpur Kheri or the Singhu border or the Nihang activism which is happening. Broader spectrum of farmers movements, you should be getting a question. And maybe one line you can mention. We have seen the agitations in so and so areas. And why are they actually against it? Okay, because of the 3 Farm Acts, and what can the government of India do? Okay, for example, the Samyukt Kisan Morcha ke baare mein likha hai, which includes various farmer groups, has led the protests. They have distanced themselves from the Nihans, okay, which is devolving into a religious issue. See, you can see there have been a non-political party movement solely on farm laws and to direct the protests at union government. But there are some sectarian rife happening within that SK, and detractors of farmers' movements have sought to denigrate it by reducing it to 6 separatist and sectarian movements. So this shouldn't be done. And conclusion, these are all some ammunition. Okay, these are all some ammunition in your arsenal which you should be knowing about. So even as strict actions are taken against violent activists, the atmosphere of distrust which persists between government and farm unions should be addressed with further talks to address the latter's concerns with the laws. So ultimately it all boils down to our farm laws. Okay, IPL, Chennai Super Kings have won, right? Next, this is a completely election and the caste-based strategies-based article, not important for us. If your optional is PSIR, Political Science and International Relations, you can read this. Okay, because you have a proper political parties in your paper 2. Next, something about Turkish foreign policy and Ottoman footprints. I didn't find it much important. हमें geography के लिए you should be knowing where is Turkey. On the world map you should be seeing where is Turkey and its neighbors, which is the Syrian militia near the eastern Mediterranean, the control over Greece and Cyprus. Okay, how the situation is devolving in Turkey, they are given. Okay, I generally call them as space fillers. I mean, this must be an older editorial which this person has written. So if there were no editorials, generally they keep this. Okay, not important for us. Again, this, if your option is political science and international relations, will be important for you. Okay, so now we have an important article here about Global Hunger Index. Okay, so this year the Global Hunger Index was released few days back, in which India's rank has devolved from 94 to 101. Okay, 94 से लेके 101 हो गया हमारा rank. And to add insult to the injury, the GHI puts India to be below some neighboring countries. Okay, in fact, most of the neighboring countries, even below Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Maldives, and other countries. So it assumes significance, especially due to COVID-19. And some static things yesterday we have discussed. In this article, they have not given it, I think. So this GHI is given by Concern Worldwide and Concern Worldwide. Okay, and Wealth Hunger Life. ये दोनों देते हैं ये रिपोर्ट को, and they base it on FAO's nutrition service. Okay, that is a issue basically. India's performance has been dismal, and since the government has questioned the methodology, basically the FAO methodology, we need to look at the 4 components according to the article. So what are the 4 components? Insufficient calorie intake, okay, and wasting, which is basically low weight for height. Remember WW, wasting for weight, and stunting, low height for age. Stunting means there is no weight. And mortality under 5, okay, under 5 mortality. So the data on deficiency in calorie intake, the first one, this is the most precarious point. The first one, they have given 33% weightage based on FAO's suite of food security indicators. So had GHI estimated using latest calorie intake, things might have looked even worse according to this article. Okay, the data on child wasting and stunting, each accounting for 16.6%, they are from WHO, UNICEF and World Bank. And under 5 mortality is from some other agency, even interagency on child mortality estimation. So each one is from this. Okay, assessment of situation is not based on results of 4 question poll conducted by Gallup. So they are all from, esteemed organizations. That's what the article tries to say. So the GHI is largely children oriented and emphasis on undernutrition. Okay, so calorie efficiency, what are the reasons? It does not mean deficiency, but it also stems from reduced physical activity, okay, better social infrastructure, access to energy saving appliances. So ये सब भी they are linked to the calorie intake. So for a diverse country like India, using a uniform calorie norm to arrive at deficiency prevalence means failing to recognize the huge regional imbalances. Okay, so a large proportion of population of Kerala and Tamil Nadu may get counted as calorie deficient in spite of them being better in the outcome indicators, right? Obviously, if you compare with Kerala and Tamil Nadu and Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, you can't have a uniform sort of level of understanding the undernutrition. And regarding the wasting and stunting, India's wasting prevalence is 17.3, around one of the highest in the world. And stunting, if you see its performance in stunting, though it's not dismal, it is declined from 54 to 34.7. Okay, so stunting, what is stunting? It's a chronic, as we have seen, low height for age. Okay, it's a short-term measure, and child wasting is immediate lack of nutrition. So in सबसे हो रहा है. So effectively counting the episodes of wasting results in, again, I'm just looking at the reasons. Okay. See, one thing you should be knowing is this is not a very important thing for our mains examination because the government of India has rejected it. Okay. So I'm not expecting a question on this, but on the whole, if there's a question on, malnutrition or food security and all, this can be some fodder points for you. Okay, mainly because of COVID-19 situation, this was exasperated. So such insight should have driven social policy to counter the adverse impacts of COVID-19. Yes, sir. And if some obscure question or prelims can be framed, one relatively better performance among the four is child mortality. Okay, actually this was a 2018 question. GHI में क्या क्या components है? Prelims question. So child mortality में we have performed a bit better compared to the other four. However, it is still lower compared to, it is lower compared to sub-Saharan Africa despite its higher levels of stunting. So basically, the ranking should prompt us to look into the policy focus and interventions. That's what they've given. And in fact, there is a related article in another page. Let me show you that. Okay, you can see this on page 10. Again, the government has slammed the publishing agencies of GHI. They have told that the report is basically inflated, as only 3.9% of Anganwadi children are found to be undernourished. Okay, among 7.79 crore between 6 months to 6 years using Poshan Tracker, we have arrived at figure of 3.9% only. And they are representative of poorest strata of society, lowest level of undernourishment here. Okay. And as we have discussed, according to FAA data, the prevalence is around 14% to 15.3% undernourishment, but we are saying only 3.9%. And government has also alleged there is a selective approach adopted to deliberately lower India's rank. Okay. So again, not very important since we have officially slammed the report. Okay, Government of India slammed the report. Next, yesterday we had discussed something about Sir Syed Ahmed Khan. Okay, a book was written on him. So we are seeing some areas of Syed Ahmed Ali Khan, and this article also. And one more thing is the AMU has completed 100 years. Okay, this year AMU, Aligarh Muslim University has completed 100 years. So during colonialism, it was the ideal of Sir Syed Ahmed Khan to basically give a push to the education. Okay, in fact, in 1883 only he told that we desire the prosperity and development of our nation. We should strive for education and science and technology. Okay, you can also use this as a quote because in 1883 itself he has told something as forward like this. Some scholars obviously they criticize Sir Syed Ahmed's statements on social order and he dissuaded the Muslims from joining the freedom struggle. Okay, all of those, I hope you are aware of it. But we must not underestimate challenges posed by new order for someone who brought up in the old order. Okay, so from medieval thinking, his wish to unshackle Hindus and Muslims from medieval thinking towards broad-mindedness, reason and progress. Okay, he gave special attention to Muslims. Why? Because Hindus had already embarked on path to scientific education. Okay, because pehle we had Hindus had Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. A lot of Hindus were well educated and they were forming part of the INC and so on. So that's why he was more partial to the Muslims. Okay. So and so forth. They have given about Aligarh Sir Syed Ahmed Khan. We don't have to go in depth for this. Okay. In fact, they have told that Sir Syed Ahmed Khan, he had laid the foundation of comparative religious studies and revived Dhara Shikoh's philosophy. Okay. Dhara Shikoh, I hope you know, Shah Jahan's son, who was secular in his understanding and writings, who was killed by, who was competitor for the Aurangzeb. And even in AMU, they have established Dhara Shikoh Center for Interfaith Understanding. Okay, some section of AMU empowers the university to promote study of religions, civilization and culture of India. So it has contributed to nation building, so on and so forth. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi also, during the centenary celebrations, he called it a mini India. Okay. So some fodder for our mains and prelims examination. Next, the Electricity Amendment Bill. So actually in this article, they have not given comprehensively on the bill, and it's in the bill stage, so I'm not expecting question from this. But one important aspect from the Electricity Amendment Bill, which might be passed soon, is that the privatization of DISCOMs. Okay, sorry, the wide-ranging provisions are delicensing power distribution after monopoly of state is dismantled. Okay, this is the most important thing. Privatization of DISCOMs in Delhi, if you see, it has reduced AT&C losses from 55% to 9%. So उसी को बढ़ावा देने के लिए ये bill है, because as you know, in our energy sector, distribution sector has been long the bane for power sector. It is making huge losses, expensive long-term power purchase agreements, poor infra, inefficient operations, leakage and weakness in the state level tariff policies. So they are in debt. That's why we had several schemes also. We had the Uday scheme for targeted on the power DISCOMs, and the Electricity Amendment Bill also is to give them a renewed push. Okay, there is open access to purchasing power from the open market. Then DISCOMs should be brought under board for proper implementation of open access. And questions of tariff need to be revisited by the power sector. Okay, so all of these are in the bill stage. Okay, so don't worry about it, because a lot of them can be changed, especially the exact terms which they're telling. Okay, the targets which they're telling, they can be changed. So don't worry about it now. Only acts are asked for our UPSC examination, right? So one thing, obviously, early passage of the bill is critical for us soon. Okay, next, the Henley Passport Index 2021 has been released. What is this Henley Passport Index? It basically ranks normal passports, non-diplomatic, which are not issued for emergency or temporary use, and matlab how many countries you can go without a visa, or can avail themselves of a visa, visitor permit, or an electronic travel authority on arrival. So even without visa or visa on arrival, how many countries you can go with a passport? So best ranked are Japan and Singapore. Okay, and where does India stand? India was allowed visa-free travel to 58 countries, and Japan and Singapore, they are given access to 192 countries. Okay, so India is ranked around 90, and it's the lowest since 2011 itself. So our rank is basically falling, mainly after the COVID-19 pandemic and all. A lot of countries are yet to open up, so that's why our rank is 90. For prelims examination or other competitive examination, you should be knowing. Henley Passport Index, India's rank has reduced. Okay, next is all political news. Okay, one thing, India-US militaries have matched skills in Alaska. So Yuddh Abhyas, India-US bilateral exercise Yuddh Abhyas has gotten underway. In Alaska. Okay, what is this for? It is for counter-terror operations in mountainous terrain and cold climate conditions. And this is the only India-US service exercise continuing in a bilateral format. Because other things, India-US Malabar has become trilateral with Japan, and in fact Australia was also included in the Malabar last year. And India joined India-US air exercise Scope India. It has become trilateral. So Malabar, which is Navy, is quadrilateral, and COPE India is, sorry, there's something wrong with the pen tab. COPE India is the air exercise that is state trilateral, and this Yuddh Abhyas, which is there, which is an army focused thing, it is there in the bilateral format. Okay, so understanding, cooperation, interoperability of best exercises has been done. It is the largest running joint military exercise. Okay, That's what we have. And we also have one more thing, Vajra Prahar. Okay, I hope you're aware. Vajra Prahar, ये special forces के साथ we have. Okay. Next, Indian tourists help Maldives recover from pandemic blues. So slowly the tourism industry is rising. Tourism and airlines industry, they're rising. Okay, again, that's as I told you in the beginning, a lot of political news today. Okay, next, the British Foreign Secretary Liz Truss and outgoing Chief of Defence Staff Nick Carter, they will visit India this week for the Indo-UK naval exercise. Okay, involving the carrier strike group in the Bay of Bengal. So the strategic purpose is for discussing the Australia-UK-US alliance, AUKUS. Both sides are expected to focus on situation in Afghanistan, and visits beginning October. There will also be scheduled ahead of the COP26 in Glasgow. Okay, UNFCCC COP26 in Glasgow. So ये सब होने वाला है. Okay. Next, children's vaccination is still away. So the government of India doesn't have any, immediate plan for the children's vaccination, because the Covishield, Covaxin, Sputnik V, they are only for people above 18 years of age. Okay, so there are some, there is some chance that there is a needle-free COVID-19 vaccine. I hope you're aware, ZyCoV-D. That is needle-free. So that can be the first vaccine which will be available in India for age group of 12 to 18 years. It has also received emergency use authorization. Okay, but if you ask me, we need not. In this situation, this ZyCoV-D and all, I feel it's from a commercial angle, because as we have seen, the recovery rate of COVID-19 has improved a lot. So anyway. So India, Sri Lanka fishermen issue. Okay, local news. Okay, one important news is China has tested nuclear capable hypersonic missile. Okay, nuclear capable hypersonic missile. What is hypersonic? It is greater than 5 times the speed of sound wale missiles. So they have tested that. The missile missed its target by about 2,000 miles, but it showed that China had made astounding progress on hypersonic weapons, and they are far more advanced than US. So the newspaper said the test would pose a big challenge to US missile defense, because the weapon could, in theory, fly over the South Pole. Okay, so huge range and hypersonic speed may be. Actually, in Indian Express, and we'll be reading this, in Indian Express, they have given more in detail. Okay, how it uses the scramjet engine and all. There I'll tell you more in detail. Okay, or let us do that right now. Okay, you can see here. Okay, is it visible for everyone? Let me just zoom in a bit. Yeah, okay. So the hypersonic, as I told you, it's 5 times more than the speed of sound. And the FTA report has basically told that, it's a Financial Times report. They have told that it missed its target, as we discussed. The significance is 2 people familiar with the test said that it could fly over South Pole. And the China Academy of Launch Vehicle Technology has said that that it had launched a Long March 2C rocket. Okay, and the US, Russia and China are all developing hypersonic weapons, including glide vehicles. The exact details which are not yet known. It uses scramjet technology. What is scramjet? It's an air breathing technology in which the air is taken in, the air is taken in the supersonic speeds, and the rocket itself can move in hypersonic speed. And the scramjet engine performed in the textbook manner with its successful demonstration, the aerodynamic configuration using scramjet propulsion, sonic flow, thermostructural characterization, so on and so forth. Okay, so इससे एक anti-satellite weapons का भी बढ़ावा हो सकता है, they have told in the article. Okay, Long March 2C rocket है, it's hypersonic and it is nuclear capable. US missionaries were kidnapped in Haiti. Okay, Mawozo gang, it seems they have kidnapped in Haiti. Then 165 Yemen rebels killed near Marib. Saudi-led coalition said 10 military vehicles were destroyed in strike on the Houthis. Who are the Houthis? Houthi rebels, they are in Yemen, okay, against the Saudi Arabia. They are mainly Shia groups. Okay, actually, what is the importance of Marib? It is a one of the government's last bastion in oil-rich northern Yemen. Okay, it is oil-rich, so that's why there is some strategic significance also which has happened here. And the Hindu temple was vandalized in Bangladesh, so they have called for hunger strike. The Hindus there, the minorities there. Iran to resume the nuclear talks, JCPOA, which was scrapped by Donald Trump, which was signed under Obama administration. So Joe Biden is ready to return to the agreement if Iran re-adheres to the nuclear commitments. Okay, nothing is final here. That's why I'm just skimming over these. Yeah, this is one important news for the competitive examinations from prelims point of view. Recently, a Russian filmmaker, Klim Shipenko, he has made a film in space, okay, after spending 12 days in International Space Station for shooting scenes for the first movie in the orbit. Okay, generally, जो movies हम देखते हैं, Interstellar or Gravity and other movies, they are all made in set, right? But this is the first movie to be made in space. Okay, actually in space in the International Space Station. So Mr. Shipenko and Periselid, who was the film heroine, actress, she also flew. Okay, she's actually sad to have left the ISS itself. So एक factual question पूछ सकते हैं. So they blasted off from Russian Baikonur Cosmodrome to film scenes from movie's name is The Challenge. Okay, in fact, Tom Cruise Mission Impossible are also trying to do that. But if the project breaks first, it will be the first movie. It's about a surgeon deployed to the ISS. Okay, Venezuela, maybe issue chal raha hai. Maduro has told he'll be talking to the rivals. Okay, Tibet activists, they have staged a protest at Athens against the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics ahead of lighting ceremony of ancient Olympia. Okay. Right. So that's it, friends. This is the main news from Hindu. And Rahul Dravid is likely to be the head coach. Let's hope that does come true. And the batting, bowling and fielding coaches also will be appointed soon. Okay, yes, sports news भी हमें थोड़ा देखना पड़ता है because we have seen in UPSC prelims recently how they've asked questions from sports. Okay. Any big cups or many big awards, those are our focus. Not many awards today. So that is our Hindu discussion. Let us briefly see some important articles from the Indian Express. Okay. So first thing is about the tax justice written by Upendra Bakshi, famous economist and writer who regularly writes for Indian Express actually. So he is talking about the tax justice. Okay, I hope you know now we are having this minimum tax rate of 15%, which should be there in all countries. So in support of that, we should be having justice about global and national taxation regimes. Within the controversies regarding exemption from income tax from agriculture, there should be progressive taxation measures. Okay, and even the post-arbitration negotiation with Vodafone, which is happening, all of them will come under this. And wealthy elites ka, we have seen Pegasus software leak and all. So yes, talked about that. So here काम का चीज़ है, the European Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development has blown its trumpet by announcing inclusive framework of backed by 134 countries. On first is Pillar 1 applies to about 100 of biggest and most profitable MNEs, and Pillar 2 is any company with over 750 million annual revenue would be subjected to effective minimum rate of 15%. Okay, as you know, we have some tax havens like the Cayman Islands or Cyprus, Singapore to an extent, जहाँ पे there are lower tax rates, so a lot of companies invest there, and where there is the tax loss and base erosion and profit shifting which happens. So to prevent that, we need to be having a minimum tax rate of 15%. Okay, मतलब if your tax rate is 3%, 12% होना है ज़्यादा. Like minimum tax rate होना है 15% across the countries. They're saying that too for all, not for all, for the countries above for the companies above 750 million. Okay, that he has supported it. And OECD declares tax havens would no longer exist and international financial services may continue based on that. So Pillar 1, as we have seen, more than $125 billion of profit reallocated to market jurisdictions, developing countries. They will all stand to gain more than developed countries with the share of corporate income tax. So we can have this corporate tax treaty. Okay, revenues under treaty base subject to tax rule. It's a developing countries will gain. And it's also a good human rights scenario because the losses due to it not able to, it's not visible, I think. Let me once. Okay, the losses to tax abuse have been estimated by Tax Justice Institute. They give the State of Tax Justice report. So it's almost $427 billion annually. Just see the ones which I'm mentioning and underlining. This you can use in your answers. Multinational companies, they have shifted profit into tax havens, they underreport, and remaining $182 billion is lost to wealthy individuals hiding undeclared assets. So average loss is about 9.2% the national health budgets. So that's why it's a human rights issue also. It's not just a financial issue. For example, it's equivalent to 34 million nurses' annual salary itself. But there are some issues. What are the challenges? The OECD proposals have received a mixed response from global tax justice NGOs because this 15% जो है, apprehension that this will become the global level of 15% multinational enterprise and corporations instead of serving as a mere baseline. So 15% ही रहेगा. It's like our MSP policy. MSP is the minimum support price, but that is the realistic actual price. So 15 से ज़्यादा भी हो सकता है ना? But this might become 15% only. For example, Global Alliance for Tax Justice has denied legitimacy to OECD statement, saying it's politically biased and outside the UN statement. It does not address the fundamental problems of current tax architecture. So there are some challenges also. And given the privatization corporation of its mandates and missions, and overall performance of permanent member of UNSC, the display of faith in the UN system is good, but one must take the world system as one may finds it without ever abandoning the dreams of a just world order. Okay, so 15% होना है minimum tax rate, that is pillar 2, and pillar 1 is about 100 of the biggest MNEs, they have to reallocate to the profit to the countries where they sell their product and services. Okay, one is BEPS, one is the 15%. But there are some challenges that this 15% can be the minimum, can become the base rate. Instead of base rate, it will become the accepted rate. Okay. Next, the fertilizer crisis shouldn't be wasted. We should bring urea under NBS. Okay, a very favorite topic across newspapers. They keep talking about this, bringing urea under this. So farmers should think beyond DAP and MOP. So what are DAP, MOP? They are fertilizers, diammonium phosphate and muriate of potash. Okay, next couple of weeks will be closely on this because for the paddy stubble cases, they have been lower in number. As we have seen over the few days, the stubble burning has decreased, but it will also matter about availability of fertilizers. Okay, there was some viral video of farmers looting the fertilizer bags. Planting wheat, mustard, channa, masoor are to commence. Soil moisture conditions are most conducive. So there is shortages of fertilizers, which can be a dampener. And what the main gist of the article is, the Narendra Modi government should have raised the subsidy on non-urea fertilizers. Given the spiraling global prices of fertilizers, such as phosphoric acid, ammonia and sulfur, imports would be viable only if companies could pass on these to farmers. Okay, and also the government should use the current supply crisis to wean away the farmers from applying too much fertilizers, high analysis fertilizers, urea and DAP. They contain 46% nitrogen, while MOP has 60% potassium. Why not replace them with NPK complexes, such as 12, 32, 16 or some other complexes? Okay. Farmers need to know that India imports much of its fertilizer raw materials. There can be used for products delivering same nutrients in the required quantities. I hope you know the NPK ratio should be 4:2:1, okay, ideally, but in India it is around 8:3:1. Okay, so a huge over application of nitrogen based fertilizers happening. So we should bring urea under nutrient based subsidy, and we should let farmers think beyond just DAP and MOP. Okay, next BSF ka we have discussed day before yesterday at length. Over here, the Union Ministry of Home Affairs has increased jurisdiction of BSF. Pehle 15 kilometers tha, it has increased to 50 kilometers in Assam, Punjab and Bengal. Why? They have increased because of seizure of drugs, new smuggling routes, infiltration of militants and so on. But the problem is this Punjab and West Bengal, they are ruled by opposition states. Okay, they are not BJP ruled states. So यहाँ पे BSF include करना, I mean इनका jurisdiction increase करना goes beyond the state police jurisdiction. Okay, BSF has been extended, but of course the article says it has been extended only with powers of search, seizure and arrest under Criminal Procedure Code. It has same powers under NDPS, Arms Act and Customs Act. Okay, it would provide uniformity in border states, but the states have called it an attack on federalism. Here, no state should have a problem with any move to improve security. The problem is the perceived weaponization of central agencies like Enforcement Directorate, CBI, Narcotics Bureau and all. And as I told you, most of them, they are opposition states. Cooperative federalism hona chahiye, and paramilitary needs support of local police to discharge duties. So coordination is required with the state police. Not a very important news, but 2-3 दिन से आ रहा है. Internal security में they can ask, but generally they don't ask questions on such political issues. Okay. Next, so recently the Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, talking on the 20th Foundation Day of NHRC, he has told that human rights violations in certain incidents has happening, but not in other similar incidents. So I felt it's a anti-governmental stand that, you know, Modi had declared that no Hindu can ever be a terrorist, and if he is a terrorist, he can never be a Hindu, right? So uske khilaf this article has talked about Pragya Thakur, Melgaon blasts and all. So I felt it's a political news. Okay, not very important for us from exam point of view. Okay, so essay articles, you know, दिखने में, I mean, if you see the headlines, you'll see that, okay, NHRC का बात चल रहा है, maybe statutory organization say some question, but you have to understand, it's written by Kavita Krishnan, who's from CPI ML Liberation, right? Politburo member. So obviously she'll write anti-government, leftist article would be there. So just हमारा काम का चीज़ कुछ है, हमें देखना है बस. Okay, लखीमपुर केरी में SUV चढ़ाया गया था, तो तब क्या हुआ, ह्यूमन राइट्स एंड ऑल देयर राइटिंग, हमें कहाँ यूज़ आएगा वो. Similarly, Gandhi Savarkar history, इसमें भी the defense minister claimed that Savarkar filed mercy petitions on Gandhi advice. It is indefensible. Okay, politics. Okay, one important article again is about Coal India. Coal India, we are seeing power crisis. A very immediate power crisis in the country because most of the coal producers are reaching critical and subcritical levels. But is pura diska blame is not, it shouldn't be just on Coal India, according to this article. The country is struggling to understand how crisis is likely to pan, and Coal India has been unfairly attacked. So reasons for the crisis are not hard to find. They are structural and also operational. Government appointed committee in early 1990s concluded CIL cannot be expected to meet demand of power sector. Kab 1990 mein hi they had told. So that's why there was an amendment in Coal Mine Nationalization Act in which the government took away 200 coal blocks of 28 billion tons and allowed them for captive mining. So these end users, they were mainly private sector, but they failed to produce any significant quantity of coal. Okay, and again Supreme Court in 2014, they had cancelled the allocation of 214 blocks because of the coal scam. And commensurate to the captive mines allocation, the coal production should have been around 50 million tons. But it is only at 68 million tons. मतलब आप हमेशा कोल इंडिया पे ही बोलते हो that Coal India is not performing well, but the private sector has not met up its target at all. Okay, in fact, Coal India ke reserves are denuded. And that's why there's a rising gap in coal supply. That's why we import also a lot of coal. And on operational side, power plants are required by CEA to maintain minimum stock of 15 to 30 days, a normative coal consumption. But the compliance with this directive is severely lacking. This enhances the vulnerability of power plants. And there is non-payment of coal sale by power plants. Okay, some companies were forced to borrow from banks. They have become NPS. Okay, and there is persistent shortage of coal production, as he has told. And we import around 200 million tons. Imagine in India we have 700 billion tons of coal. Okay, but we still import 200 million tons because our quality of coal is not very good. Of this, more than 40% goes for power plants. So a spurt in imported coal prices, mainly the coal imports by China, it has acted as brake on imports of coal. So import से भी problem है, domestic production में problem है, supply side में problem है. Demand side तो बढ़ता जा रहा है. One thing is the spurt in demand is again linked to post-COVID economic recovery. Okay, thousands of workers and officers were infected and hospitalized. So in defense of Coal India, a lot of things he has written in detail. He has written. As a conclusion at the end is, Coal India has been unfairly blamed. It has played a stellar role being a solid rock between light and darkness. The company has ramped up coal production despite 1990s policy that took away 28 billion tons of its reserves. So we should understand the critical role of CIL. We should give it bouquets rather than brickbats. He's a former chairman, obviously he'll write like this. But when you're writing, if